Hello Internet, slightly less scruffy Bobby here, and I'm back to do another tutorial. But before I jump into that, I just wanted to kind of follow up on something. So let me jump over here. Whee! Okay, so first off, as some of you might know, we are very active on Twitter because Twitter, and we did a poll to see if people would be interested in watching a live stream of us kind of putting together our new website, madnesslabs.net, because we are way past due for some changes on that website, and due to our busyness over the last couple of years, we've just kind of been putting it off. And so saw this as a great opportunity to kind of update our stuff, because we were doing it anyway, and also kind of teach along the way, because we'll be starting from a complete clean slate. And so we did a poll on Twitter about this, and overwhelmingly we were told yes, we should definitely do that. So we're going to, starting this upcoming Tuesday. So to save any of you who are going down to the description to look at when this was uploaded, that will be Tuesday. That will be January 25th. So this upcoming Tuesday at 5 p.m. Central Standard Time. And basically, again, we're going to start from scratch. So we're going to create the project, get it put up on GitHub, all that kind of good stuff. So we're going to literally start from scratch. I move a little quick, but I'll try to kind of slow down a little bit, and I'll try to also answer some questions and stuff like that as I kind of go along. So that being said, today I wanted to cover a very basic thing. I wanted to cover how to set up the environment, because some of you might be coming into this cast wanting to learn web components, wanting to learn Ionic or Stencil, and just don't have anything set up. So I want everyone to be able to kind of follow along. And so that being said, I wanted to kind of walk through how to set up your environment. It's very simple. Back in the day, you used to have to set up Examp and WAMP and all these different tools for putting up a web server. Luckily, it is not as difficult anymore, because we use something called package managers, and package managers make it really simple. And my favorite package manager, Node, is also a web server. So it's kind of two birds with one stone. So that being said, I'm going to jump right into it. So first off, I guess, what is your environment, right? Because I'm sure you've probably heard that term before. And if you are not a noob, I'm sorry, you're going to hear a lot of newbie stuff. So you might want to jump to a different video. So if you are just starting, noob, then basically an environment is just the tools that we need in order to build our code to run in the browser. So in this case, Node is actually a JavaScript web server, and it also has a package manager that comes with it, called Npm, and you'll get very familiar with that. But the first thing you're going to want to do is jump over to nodejs.org, and I'll put the links, again, description, and go ahead and download the latest stable version, so 8.9.4 at the time of this recording, and it will download, and you're going to want to install that. Awesome. So what Node is it's a JavaScript web server. So it's pretty much like Chrome, except used as a web server. And so I guess I'll take another step back. So what is a web server? A web server serves the content. So anytime you go to a website, like for instance YouTube or madnesslabs.net or nodejs.org, anytime you go to a website, your browser makes a request. And that request goes out over the internet, which through a series of tubes, from what I've been told. It jumps from spot to spot until it finally finds the house of wherever the website you're trying to request lives, and then basically the server serves back a response to that request with the actual content of the page that you're looking for. So that's just the kind of general gist. Well, we want to develop and work on everything on our local machine. So we need to install some software in order to allow us to use our computer as a server. And I'm just going to kind of click next, like a real professional who doesn't want to install any malware. And basically all this is going to do is install Node on your computer so that you can use it as a local web server. And this is how we can kind of get all of our code compiled, as well as previewing our code in our actual local machine, yada, yada, yada. Okay, so after you click next to select the install location, and next to allow it to add something to your path, it's going to go ahead and install. And the adding to the path, this is something that you're going to run into a lot when you're doing development. So you have basically on your computer, right? When you use Chrome or you use any kind of a program, it really comes down to command line. So every program that you use, no matter how visual it seems, it all comes down to a command line interface eventually somewhere down the line. So in this case, Node is going to install two command line tools, one of which being the Node command line tool, and then the other one being npm, the Node package manager. So, and after this gets done installing, we'll actually go and pop into our, we'll go and pop into a terminal, and we'll test both of these out to make sure that they're running. Oh, come on, you can do it. I already got you installed. Okay, so sorry for my laptop chugging a little bit. As many of you know, streaming and installing things, no bueno es laptopos. Okay. Dang it. Life is a series of loading bars. I feel like I need like a cane and a at. Not now, dude. Okay, so the next thing that we're gonna do, I'll just jump to the next part while we're waiting. So the next thing we're gonna do is let's go to npmjas.org. So Npm Jas is the Node package manager website. This basically is a kind of place where everyone kind of stores their repositories or stores their packages that you install on your computer or into your actual project. So there's two types of packages. There is the packages that you install on a per project basis, and then there's actually the packages that you install on a global basis. So for instance, npm is a global package. So npm is installed globally on your machine. It doesn't matter where you're at inside of your computer, you can always use the npm command in order to run some kind of npm function. But there are also local packages that you install on a per project basis, and they only exist within that folder. So for instance, Stencil is a local package, local module. So that Stencil package is only accessible within inside of the project that you install it on. And we'll get more into that here in a minute. Okay, so this is the homepage of npm. You can search for packages like jQuery or something like that. And again, it's kind of weird. It started out as more like these were kind of the techie packages that you used for building dependencies and things like that. And then Bower was kind of like Twitter's solution for client-side dependencies like jQuery and Angular and things like that. But over time, npm has kind of engulfed everything just because it's such a robust tool and it does its job very well. And now it's kind of encompassed everything. So now you're installing usually all of your developer dependencies as well as your client-side dependencies all through Node. This is our preferred way of doing it, and we think that that'll probably work best for most people that are watching this as well, especially if you're just starting out. Removing backup files. Well, okay, so I've already got this installed, so hopefully I can just run this command anyway. Oh, there it goes. I knew you could do it, Node. I believed in you. I thought you already copied new files. Okay, so when that's done running, we're going to actually check to make sure that npm and Node got properly installed. and I'll show you how to check their version, which is useful if you're ever having to report a bug or something like that. And then we're going to install a couple global packages just to get things up and running. These are things that we're going to be using in development of stencil applications, making web components, and also in the live cast that we have coming January 25th, this Tuesday. So one of them is Typescript. And Typescript is pretty awesome. It's basically a superset of JavaScript, which really, the simplest way to think about it is it adds what's called static typing onto JavaScript. So if you've never been, or if you've never worked inside of a statically typed language, a statically typed language is something like C or Java. They're languages that basically require you to type all of your variables. And what that means is not like typing, it means as in like you have to define what the variables are before you're allowed to use them. So if I have a math equation function that has an A variable and a B variable, I have to tell it that A is going to be a number and B is going to be a number or an integer or a Boolean or whatever. I have to specifically define each variable and what it's going to be, and that way the compiler knows what it's supposed to expect as it's running through and compiling, and then it can stop you from actually trying to compile out and run code that won't work. So it saves the developer a lot of headaches, trying to debug, and it also saves your users problems from running into things that you thought worked, but then after you got it into the browser, it didn't work the way it was supposed to. So that's a common pitfall that most JavaScript developers have, because JavaScript is so easy to pick up and start using, because there is no rule. Like there's just, it's complete Wild West when it comes to JavaScript. But this kind of gives a little bit more structure, and the cool part is it's mostly opt-in. So you don't have to use all typings everywhere, but the more you opt into it, the better your experience as a developer is going to be, and the more solid the code that you're exporting out is going to be as well. Okay, so I think it's finished installing, which is good. Okay, awesome. So now that we've got Node installed, let's pop open a terminal. I've got mine pinned, but if you don't know how to open a terminal or PowerShell, you can do Windows key, CMD, and you can run it from command prompt, which is kind of the old school version of terminal on Windows, or you can do PowerShell. Oops. Which is kind of an upgraded version of the command prompt. It has like pretty much all the functionality of CMD and then some. And then if you're on Mac, because you're so awesome with your awesome design tool Mackie awesomeness, then you're going to open up terminal and you're going to type in sudo like 100 million times. Okay, so now what we can do is type in node -- version, or if you're on Mac, you're going to type in node - version, only one dash, or -v, and you'll see that if it's installed correctly, you'll get back the version number that's installed on your computer. So same thing with npm. Awesome. So I can see that I have both of these installed. If I type in something random like asdf version, you're going to see that I get some gnarly error. It's going to be all red and telling me how stupid I am. Or not, or not. Help me out here, Windows. So if you get some kind of red error message when you type in your command, there it goes. If you get some kind of gnarly error message like this, the term ASDF or node is not recognized, then that means that it didn't install correctly. So you might have to restart your computer if there were any command prompts that were currently running. So restart your computer, and if that doesn't work, go back out to the Node website, download the latest version again, reinstall it, and then if you have any problems, feel free to leave a comment. I'm pretty responsive on that kind of stuff. But if you have everything installed correctly, you should get the version number of each one of those when you do the -- version. So again, there's two different things that got installed when you installed the Node.js program. You get the node command line module, which is the web server, the JavaScript web server, and then you get npm, which is the node package manager, which installs pieces of code into either your project or your machine. So we're going to install one on our machine as a global, and we're going to install Typescript. So again, Typescript is what Stencil uses, as well as we use it internally on pretty much all of our projects, Stencil or not. It's used on the new Angular. It's fairly popular because, again, the ability to have static typing inside of JavaScript is super valuable, as it stops from making a lot of novice mistakes and gives a lot of good type ahead, which is like the autocomplete on the coding programs that you use. So good stuff. So let's go ahead and do our first install, npm install -g, and then we'll say Typescript. So note, I'm just typing in the name of the package name off of npmjas.com. So you just install packages like this. So boom, I've already got it installed now, and now I have a Typescript command. Oops. Oh, that's right, tsc. So sometimes when you install a package, the name of the package isn't always the same as the command line the command line module that you run. So in this case, when I install Typescript, it actually installs a command called tsc, or Typescript compiler, and see, I can actually do the exact same version command. Most tools have a version flag that you can pass through in order to get back the version of that module. So cool. Now I've got Typescript installed, and so like I'll go back here for a second. I know I jump around a lot. So this npm install command, if you've never used npm or any package manager, this is the command that's going to install a program. So you can think of it much like us going out to npmjas.org and downloading that package, and then we double-clicked it and then installed it. That's pretty much what we just did, except on the command line. So we just basically pointed to npm Jas and we said, hey, get me that package called Typescript and install it -g, or globally, install it on my entire computer so that I can use it anywhere. And we can actually see that here. We're actually inside of my home folder, and we can actually see that I can run that tsc command. If I install a command locally, like maybe I see here the tslint. So let's do npm install tslint. So I'm going to do a regular install, and naturally it's going to save that to a what's called a package.json, which I won't get in too much to here. But basically, a package.json is just a list of all the packages you have installed and what versions that are installed. And that way, if you hand this to another developer, your project to another developer, they can go about running npm install, and it will install all of your dependencies for you without you having to go and manually install each one of them individually. It'll also keep them all in the right versions. So now I've installed into my home directory tslint. So I should be able to do tslint -- version. Actually, no, I won't be able to because it's a local dependency. Okay, so when you run an install, so like that npm install -- save, it installs them to a folder by default called node modules. So as you can see here, follow my cursor. As you can see here, I have a node modules folder, and I'll open this up in Explorer. So as you can see here, I have a folder called, come on, Bobby, get your shit together. Okay. So I have a folder called node modules, and when I jump into that node modules folder, you should be able to see I have a folder here called tslint. So now when I install a package without the -g flag, it installs it specifically under that folder. So basically inside of my home directory, Popgo, inside of that, they've installed the dependency into node modules, and so I can use them inside of the confines of that project. I won't get into actually how to run it. Again, it doesn't install it globally. As you noticed over here, I can't run the ts lint command because it doesn't exist globally on my machine. I can't run it from the command line like that. I can only run it within the confines of the project, which again, out of the scope of this tutorial, but yeah, like that's the basic principle. So you've got your locally installed packages which go into the node modules folder and get saved inside of a package.json, and then you've got the global dependencies like Typescript or our Madness Engine CLI that you install globally on your machine so that you can use them throughout any project that you're working on. So that's the basic gist. Another package I'm going to be using inside of the cast here on Tuesday is going to be Madness Engine. So Madness Engine is a command line tool that we've created here at Madness Labs, and you can see the install command here. Awesome, right? So this tool is just to make it a little easier to work with GitHub repositories or installing components or creating components, removing components, just kind of odds and ends in the web development process. So we made this tool to make it a little bit easier to work with a lot of different things, and hopefully it'll be super useful for you as well. I never closed you, node. Okay, so I'm going to clear this out, and I'm going to install the Madness Engine tool, and we should be on version 1.1.8. And again, I'm using the -G flag because I want this to be installed on my entire system, not just on one of my projects. So I know this video was a bit lengthy, especially for as little as we covered, but there's a lot of meat there if you've never been in the development scene or you're new to specifically JavaScript development. But that's the basic gist. Again, all we did here was install Node. And Node, again, is the web server. It's a local running JavaScript web server, as well as a package manager. So you have a Node tool and a NPM. And then we went ahead and with NPM installed Typescript, which is going to do our compiling. It's going to take Typescript that we're going to write in our stencil components, and it's going to compile it into our actual JavaScript code that we're going to run in the browser. It's also going to compile some other languages and things like that. Using locally installed packages out of a package.json that we'll get, again, we'll get into on the live cast. And that's the basic gist. So once you've got this installed, this pretty much opens up the whole world of development to you. You can go out and install things to compile out Sass or to compile out any coffee script. I mean, there's a million different things you can do once you've got Node installed. So hopefully this gets you off to a start, and I will see you guys in the live cast on Tuesday. Have a good weekend. Close the cast, closing the cast.